All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Intro to the DOM. By the end of this lesson, I hope that each and every one of you will be able to describe the DOM and create and add elements to web pages. So let's dig in. So the DOM is what the browser thinks your HTML is. So if we let's call this browser, and we've got a file server. So maybe this is Light Server, maybe this is Amazon S3, maybe this is Kyle's Raspberry Pi in the basement. I have a static file server over here. So you go to a URL, say, hey, give me the index.html file. Your file server responds with the contents of that file. So what's interesting about this is that when this HTML file comes back, your browser ingests it. And out the other side, craps the DOM. So HTML is fundamentally a set of instructions to the browser on how to build the DOM. And the DOM is a tree. So if we had HTML that looked like this, okay, so that's the HTML document. We're familiar with what those look like and how they work. Your browser parses this HTML into that exact same thing as a tree. So whenever your browser gets an HTML file, it turns it into that. And then your browser has the ability to take one of those trees and render it as a document. So it knows how to make that layout and color and typography and all that kind of stuff. Because when you get a CSS file, all of those styles get added to these nodes. And it creates the page. That's the DOM in a nutshell. Why don't you ask me some questions about it?
Yeah, hey Kyle. So when I was reading through just like the first section of the DOM stuff, in the watch out section, it talks about how our once the HTML builds out the DOM, it's no longer HTML anymore. Can you explain that a little more?
Yep. So this is the set of instructions for building this. Once we've built this, we don't need the instructions anymore. So bye.
But why does it recreate new HTML then for it? Like when you go to the inspect, because when you go to
Totally. So that's a great question. So if we go to a page and we element inspect something, Old Man Coberly said that all this HTML went away. Old Man Coberly was right. What's happening there is it takes this DOM tree and recreates the HTML that it probably came from, so that you, like, as a debugging tool to help you. But all of this, your browser isn't using this. This is just for you. And you'll often note that, like, you'll see stuff in this that you didn't enter. It's because it's not actually reading your HTML document. It recreated this out of the DOM. So it's like it reversed this process. But yeah, your original HTML, once it gets parsed, bye-bye. It's gone. Actually, you can still see it. It is page source, Control U. Come on. It's page source, you know, Control U. Try it again. That's the document that it got back. And then it parsed that and turned it into the DOM.
Cool. Thank you so much for clarifying.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to. It's what I'm here to do. What else can I clarify?
So the DOM isn't like a thing that we're interacting with. Is it more like an emulator or just a process that's happening before our eyes?
Super good question. So we do interact with it. And where we do that is over here with JavaScript. You write JavaScript stuff that can change this tree, can add nodes to the tree, can take things off of the tree, can change things that are in the tree. But your JavaScript is interacting with the HTML. Your JavaScript is interacting with the DOM. The DOM is like the gateway for how JavaScript can make these pages dynamic.
Sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome. What else?
Are those nodes for each element what also contains the CSS data? Is that what the arrow is?
Ding, ding,
Okay.
ding. So yeah, what happens is your CSS stuff works the same way, where the CSS is instructions for the browser on which nodes to apply those rules to. And so it looks at your selector and it looks at this tree and goes, all right, does this selector match this node? If so, attach these rules to it. Does this selector match this node? And so it goes through those in order with every single one of your style rules and figures out whether or not to apply that rule to that node. And that's part of how it figures out how this should look.
And also, is there a reason why the text content wouldn't be inside of the node?
Yes, because the text content is technically its own node. So like that's this hello world that I have down here.
I see.
These are called text nodes. They're not HTML elements. And you can't do all of the same things you can with DOM nodes, but they are attached to nodes.
Gotcha.
And like in practice, that pretty much never comes up. Like you can just think of this as a property of this node, but strictly speaking, text nodes are their own nodes in the tree. More questions?
Do the attributes and like class or in HTML, do they have their own node? I
Oh,
think that's what I
super good
s-
question. No, all of those are part of these. So, like, if we zoom in on the paragraph, this node has like whatever attributes. Actually, it's probably easier to think of it as an object because that's what it is. You'll say like, all right, it has a class of user and active, and it has an ID of login, and it has a style property with all of the rules. So all these are basically an object in here. So any attributes on the HTML, all of the CSS styles, all that stuff is part of the node.
What's a real world example of why you would change text content with JavaScript rather than changing the HTML?
Oh, what a great question. So I'm going to have y'all do this in just a sec, but here's where we're going with it. So I've got this, this file here, HTML file, have this placeholder here, have this empty list of items here. And then over here, I've got this title and these units. So I could absolutely just type Sika Education in here, call it good. These list items, though, it's a little bit different. So what if I take these units and I map over them and turn each one of them into like a list element or list item. So I can call document.createElement to make those list items. I can and then say, all right, the text content of that list item is going to be unit.name. And then I could even make like the ID of it something like li.id equals unit.id. And then just return the list item. Come on. Oh, that's right, I'm not in Vim. My Vim commands don't work. Okay, so I've taken an array of objects and turned it into an array of DOM elements. And then I can take each of those DOM elements and throw them onto the page. So I can use something like query selector to get the thing with the class of items. So that gets the UL. And then for each LI, I want to append the LI. And if I do that, it gets mad at me. Titles assign a thing never used.
It's because you called them items, not the unit up there. Or you called them units, not items. Something to that effect, I think.
No, see, that's items, and that's the thing that I want to append.
Maybe I just looked at it wrong.
That's units. That's the thing that I'm mapping over. So if I debug this, let's see if I'm getting this far. Can I console log that? Oh, I know what's going wrong. This is the other thing we need to do. So I'm just writing this in a JavaScript file, which is fine. But it's not attached to this HTML page. So the same way that we attach style sheets, the similar way that we attach JavaScript files. So this one's double-ended, and it's a script tag. And it's src. This is the thing that you're going to mess up approximately 100 times. Link uses href. Script uses src. But otherwise it works the same way. And then the last thing you need to do is this defer keyword. And we'll talk about that another day. But if I do that, hey, now I got list items in here. So what's cool about this is that if I have a ton of things, for example, this is your curriculum. These are all of the posts in here, big ol' array of objects. Okay, I could type all of that HTML out if I want, or I could store it in a database and get it back through HTTP, or hell, even just hard code it. It's still better than typing those stupid LI elements every time. And then describe how you make an LI element with this data, and then do stuff with it. Also, now that it's in JavaScript, we could do things like, let's say I don't want to map over this. Let's say I want to find. So I go, hey, can you find me the unit where unit.name is websites. And then, so that comes back from that. And then I want you to reduce that into, no, I can't reduce that because that's just going to be the thing. So this would be matching unit or found unit. And then I want to take the found unit and create an LI with it, and then append it to this thing. Ta-da! Or do it by ID. So maybe I get that ID from like a URL. Well, whatever one has an ID of 3. Ta-da! So that could come in from a form. Maybe I fill something out on a form, and it searches through this array for whatever the thing that I typed was. And now I can dynamically put it on the page. That's pretty cool.
So I have a question,
Mhm.
Kyle. If you have a website with multiple pages that are linked together,
Yep.
does using this, I guess, eliminate the need for creating those list items on every page? Does this kind of go into play with multiple sheets?
Could be. So yeah, if we have this this JavaScript file and a bunch of HTML files, yeah, rather than writing out the list items every single time, we can just have them all use this JavaScript file to make them.
So you can use the same list, but if you just wanted the one bullet point on one page, that's how
Totally.
you would do it. Okay.
Yeah, let's check it out. So if I make another HTML page, this one will be called like units. And I copy all this stuff over to units. And in the original, this maybe has, or actually I'm going to call this one unit singular. Nope, units, never mind. So I might have that there, and then maybe I have an anchor tag. That goes to units.html. And oops, that one's in my.
Were you? Yeah, I was gonna say.
All right, so now I've got this link to another page. References the same JavaScript file. So if I go, let's see, maybe I get rid of, or just call this one units. Okay, so I'm on the index. It's rendering this thing that I found there. I go over there. That also has access to that same data. Or I could say, that's the index JavaScript file. What if I make a copy of that? And call this units.javascript. Copy all this stuff over. I got all those things there. All right, so then units is going to do this one. And this one's going to do this one. And then over here, this is going to import units.js instead. All right, cool. So now, this is the main page, and then I go to this link, and it's got all of that. In none of these HTML files did I have to type out all the items. Now imagine there's 100 items, 1,000 items, 500,000 items. Pretty cool. Ask me some questions about what I just did.
So other than linking the HTML and all that stuff, what do you actually need on the HTML page? Just the main body elements, HTML, all that stuff? Like you can leave it pretty blank and do everything else in JavaScript, or what?
You could leave it completely blank. So let's say I didn't have any of this. And let's see, this is for index. And now instead of selecting for items, which doesn't exist anymore, let's say I do body instead. Still works. Come on. Ta-da! There's nothing even in the HTML file. We can just query the body and then attach nodes to that instead. Oh, Kyle, where would you ever do such a thing? So here's the LMS. Let's take a look at the actual HTML page that loads up from this. You might be surprised. Let's log in first. Just this. That's the entire HTML file for all of the LMS. That little div right there, this is the only element on the page. I use JavaScript to do everything else. It doesn't even load another page. Like when you click links, you're not actually clicking links. You're clicking instructions to JavaScript to yank some stuff out of this div and put other stuff in. The whole thing is imaginary. all of this stuff was all made with JavaScript. There is not an HTML file anywhere on the server that has all this stuff. That's what Angular does, by the way. Or like this is a React
performance
app.
difference? Is there a performance difference?
Yes,
I mean,
it is
using JavaScript versus HTML?
definitely. Just HTML is crazy easy on your computer. This thing here is very intense. However, that's how this sort of feels like an app when you're navigating around rather than a website. That like it doesn't reload the page every time. You can go to these different tabs and stuff as you're navigating around. Feels less like a website, a little bit more like an app. And that's because it doesn't need to go to a server every time to get new stuff. It can just use JavaScript to do it all. But like that's making your computer work way harder to do all that calculation.
Is that where? So that's where you're running into. You're talking about on Friday how you're running into performance issues. What's your thought of how to solve for some of those and kind of structure this?
Oh, sure. So every time like something changes on here, I'll show you like what the specific problem is. Oh, it's one of these. That's inbox evaluations. Here we go. God, it's even taking a long time to do it. Let's see how many there are. I mean, it's probably like 11,000 or so. So this is showing every like evaluation that I've done of anybody's submissions. And so this is like about 9,000 things at this point. It's still going. And so the problem is that every time like I filter something, for example, on the activities page, give that thing a break. It's probably crashing my computer right now. You guys can't hear me. Hang on. Uh-oh. All right, and we're back. So let's more questions about the DOM, why, who gives a shit, how it works, that kind of stuff.
So just to kind of wrap my head around it, so the DOM is pretty much like a medium where we pass along, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and so then it renders everything to a friendly format that that a website, that you see.
That's it. You got it, baby.
Okay.
So if I go to New York Times. So if I want to change this headline with JavaScript, I can do that. So I can open up my dev console. Why don't I find some way to identify this headline? Come on. Any day now. There we go. All right, so there's the HTML element. Hey, an ID. So if I'm going to grab that ID, and then in the console, I'm going to say the headline is document.querySelector, and then paste in that ID. Cool. So now I have a headline. Headline is that element. That means I can change it. I can do text content equals. You can say like whatever the headline currently is. And wait for it. I hacked the New York Times.
So the DOM is the same no matter which browser you use, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that how like scammers take people's bank accounts? Like when they get little old people on the phone and change the passwords and stuff like that? Like
no, good guess. Because
Okay.
I can only do this on my, like if you go to the New York Times, I didn't change it for you. I can't change it for anybody but my browser. The way that scammers do that is they go, all right, see, this is all the HTML for the New York Times. Well, how about I just copy the outer HTML and go over to this index and maybe just paste that in. And I hit save. And hey, what do you know? I have the New York Times now. And so then I can deploy this to whatever website that I want. I can change all this stuff and then send that to somebody that maybe doesn't look at the URL so close. And then when that person goes to log in and they type in their username and password, that username and password goes to my server, not the New York Times server. And so I just give them something that goes, sorry, I guess you can't log in right now, but I don't care anymore. They just gave me their username and password.
So obviously, when you change the headline, I saw in the console log that it blocked it. So really the only person can see the
not even
formatting
this.
and everything like
this is just this is my ad blocker blocking their ads. This absolutely went through, but the DOM is in my browser. And so I changed my browser's DOM representation of this page, not anybody else's.
Okay. And I'm assuming, like, for like even websites that we make, people won't be able to adjust any of our actual HTML code or what our website says, but they could change it in their own browser, but not
Correct.
from like our source code. Okay.
Totally. And then like this is how people do these like funny things on Twitter and stuff. Where like you could go, all right, H1, or no, what was it? Headline. Headline.text content equals breaking. And like, so you can take a screenshot of this and send it to all your friends, and it looks like the New York Times said that. Just DOM manipulation. Because
No way, no one in this group is not going to view that PowerPoint.
So yeah, somebody from the New York Times wrote this HTML. My browser requested the file from the New York Times file server. I got it back. My browser took that HTML, rendered this DOM tree, got all the style sheets, all that kind of stuff, rendered it onto my screen. Then I used JavaScript to change this tree. Every time that tree changes, it re-renders. Yeah, I didn't change the file that was on the file server. Questions about this? All right, enough jibber jabber. Time for y'all to do a little bit of DOM manipulation yourself. So I am going to go back to the original. All right, I'm putting this link in this. So you need to fork this to do anything with it. So hit the fork button. Delete my own HTML. Well, shoot.
I just looked at it.
HTML. Refetch. There we go. So Give it a shot. But actually do that on my that looks like on that. When I then
TypeScript and then our inside the tag. Yeah. And at the source equal to the name of the JavaScript file. Yeah. And close tag.
Excellent. So now the script is attached to the page. Next step, John.
For the next step, I'm going to do a content on page 1. Do document select and then page 1.
Nice. Last step, I'm going to hear from Sarah. Is that for you? The script is in the files. If you're trying to see what the script attached correctly, easy way to do that. It's locked. Here.
Is there a delay? I did it that way. It didn't happen. Then I did it again, and okay. Did it yeah. So
Yeah. For each. And then the and question. I the return when I add in it still gives me place text. Yeah, no, I I think that's my yeah. Anything
So this is exactly what it is doing. Okay.
and we will Apple Macs.